Hey, Tony Gaskins here, popping in. Now, I want to talk about this because this could go both ways, but not all the way, because it is different with a father raising boys than it is with a mom raising boys. Although both can have an influence, we respond differently to men than we do women. But it doesn't mean that a woman should stop trying or that a woman shouldn't put her best foot forward. It also doesn't mean that a woman cannot properly raise a man. That would be a lie. But if you are a father and you have the opportunity to be in your child's life, meaning the mother of your sons is not blocking you from being in your child life, here's some things you got to understand. Now, we hear this growing up. We always heard, do as I say, not as I do. The first thing you got to understand as a man is that you set the tone, you set the example. You have to be the man that you want your son to be. Anything you wouldn't want your son to do, you cannot let him know you're doing it. You cannot show him you're doing it. Anything that your son sees or hears from you, you have to fully explain it. You got to let them know what you're doing, because what you don't talk to your son about is what he's going to go into the world and explore. So you got to have a conversation. And what you're going to find as your son gets older, he's going to find little ways to get advice from you. And he's going to ask you about this stuff. You know, my 16-year-old today, we was eating breakfast and we're in another country together, and it was my dream for him at 16 to take him away to like a cabin for a week and teach him about manhood, just everything. But now I get more time, so with him alone and every day teaching him lessons about manhood. He cooking his breakfast, cooking his lunch, cooking his dinner. He got to wash dishes. He washing dishes probably twice a day, 3 times a day. He gotta watch the way he talking to me. Even though we cool and we laugh and we joke, he still gotta be respectful. He was joking the other day, and I had to check him. He came back later, walked in my room and was like, "Hey, Dad, I want to apologize by what I said earlier." He was joking something I had did that was something. He was like, "This guy," and said something, and I had to check my, "Hey, son, don't get beside yourself." So even though we cool, I'm still real with him. Woke up this morning, he had not washed the dishes last night. As soon as I seen him, "Hey, go wash them dishes. Before you do anything, wash them dishes." And so teaching him manhood. And then when we was sitting down talking, he was saying, "Hey, what you think about this?" And he was telling me about this trend on TikTok. And he was talking about interracial dating, how on TikTok it's a lot of white women. He said they call them gutter babies. That's the name on TikTok, where they rap all the lyrics to like a rapper like 21 Savage or NBA Youngboy rap their whole song, trying to appeal to black men, and how they talking about how much they love chocolate men. And then he was saying how, like, then black men, he said it's a trend for the black boys to be like, if it ain't snowing, I ain't going. Talking about if the woman ain't white, they don't want them. And then he said the black women, the black girls now is talking about, I want some pasta and lobster, from the song where she got a white boy on her roster and he be feeding her pasta and lobster. So he says like this battle between, and then he said sometimes the black girls will go on the white girls page and like bash them for trying to appeal and get the validation of a black guy, and all this back and forth. And he was like, "How you feel about it?" And so, we talk about that. We talk through there. And I have to set an example for my sons. And if it's ever I step out of character, I'm not emotionally intelligent, I'll sit down and talk to my sons about that. What I'm dealing with, the stress on my life, what I'm going through, so that they understand male emotions. So you have to set the tone. The other thing is not just setting the example, you got to be completely transparent. And sometimes, my wife, she'll be like, "Why would you say that to him?" I say, "Listen, this ain't about, like, why would you tell him that, as a child? This ain't about you and your feelings. This ain't about like us having no perfect image in front of our sons. Like I talk to my son about every single thing because my job as a father is to prepare him for life. So if anything I keep in the dark, he's going to struggle in the dark with that thing. So every single thing I gotta expose it to him at his level. So when and a brother wrote in about this, so this confirmed this here message. So when your child is young, like my 9-year old, my card is on his game. So he could just charge the card. And at first it was like he had to ask me, but I got tired of him coming to me, Daddy, can I have $5? Can I have $3? Can I have this? Can I have that? And I was just like, yeah. And I realized I was spoiling him and I was going about it the wrong way. I was teaching him basically that money has no value, that money grow on trees. But at that time, it kind of was growing on trees, and I really didn't care. You know, it was a game that he spent like $3,000 on, but as a millionaire, I really didn't feel it. And so I was sending him the wrong message. Then I had to come back in and right my wrongs. So now I'm coming in, put my foot down, telling him, you know, you can't spend this, can't spend that. You got to ask for this. You can have $25 a week. I remember when I was his age, my allowance was $7 a week. But I'm like, man, I made way more than my parents made, and they was giving me $7 a week. And so I give them $25 a week. And then my wife, she came and said, hey, and then my oldest, I give him $50 a week. She said, hey, you know, your oldest, he ain't making his bed, you know, cleaning his room. So we need to have it to where before he get that 50, he got to do this. So as parents, we learning as we go. And everybody could look at somebody else parenting style and judge it. But you got to think about, what do I want for my children? What do I want for my children? And you got to create a plan that work for you and your children. And the key is you have to make sure that you're not operating from trauma, that you're not operating from anger, that you're not operating from pain. Don't think that just because you're living and breathing and working a job that your parents did a good job. You could be a broken adult. You could be an ignorant adult. You have to continue to grow as a person. So this morning, me and my 16-year-old, he'll be 17, April 26th, we was talking about emotional intelligence and stoicism. So I went in there. I was like, hey, man, your mama keep calling me like on FaceTime. She keep calling me on FaceTime. I was like, you know what that mean? I said, that mean I've been emotionally intelligent. I say, and not asking questions like me being away as a man, you naturally think like, oh, where you going? Okay, you really going there? You sure you ain't cheating? You sure you, like them kind of questions is real questions that a man or a woman may ask. But when you become emotionally intelligent and you have confidence in yourself, you able to then tell yourself, if my spouse do something stupid, that's on them. That's their loss. So by me being emotionally intelligent, not raining on my wife parade, it make her fall deeper and deeper in love. So then like she doing something that she rarely ever do throughout our marriage is call me right in front of her mom. Because sometimes what happen is when the marriage is rocky, each person go talk to their parents about their spouse. So then you almost make your parent look at your spouse differently, and then you'll look like you two-faced if you keep keying with your spouse in front of your parent when you just was talking bad to your parent about your spouse. But when you could key in front of your parent talking to your spouse, it give your spouse a sense of comfort that, oh, he or she must not be talking bad about me to their parents because they calling me right in front of their parents and talking to me. And that's when you know you're on good ground. It don't necessarily mean that, but that's the message it sends. So I'm talking to my son about that because throughout his lifetime, he have seen me go off the handle. He's seen me be emotionally unintelligent in different situations. With him, he done seen me go off on grown men. He done seen me go off on, you know, workers and people. Like he's seen my demeanor when I get serious and I get out of hand. And so he know that to a degree I have a temper. So I have to come back and explain that to him. And we talk about it because we don't know what it is. You know, we ain't really understand it because I have had 1,000 concussions from playing football 14 years of my life. I got to explain that head trauma. I got to explain just my life from being an introvert, being quiet, putting up with a lot, you know, like just watching people and then getting to a place as a grown man of like, listen, I ain't putting up with no mess no more. And so I have to explain that so he understand the difference of my upbringing, his upbringing, my personality, his personality. And so when you raising boys, the first thing you got to have is you got to have structure. So I've never heard my 16-year-old curse, but every one of his friends, I've heard them all curse. And they'll curse in front of me, like just like in earshot, not to me, but in earshot. Now, it's some of them that'll curse to you. Like, it's some kids, they don't even register cursing as a bad thing, but I register as a bad thing because I don't curse as a grown man. And I taught my son that. I also taught my sons, yes sir, no sir. Yes ma'am, no ma'am. If they don't say it, give me 10 push-ups. So when you raising boys, you have to have structure. Structure means you have rules, you have regulations, you have boundaries, you have standards, you have principles. You have to have structure. And inside of that, what that means is you treat everybody with respect. You protect the weak. You don't prey on the weak. So I teach my son, my oldest son, the other day, I'll teach him about not bullying, not clowning people, because when it happened to him, his feelings be hurt. But I'm like, you be the same one cracking jokes. I say, you never know how people take a joke. So now when the joke's on you, when the rabbit got the gun, now you and your feelings about to cry. I say, so that's a lesson. And never in my life have I ever made fun of anybody because I always felt bigger. I always felt like a bigger person. I always felt, I'm also an empath, so I could feel. So I never bullied anybody, never picked on anybody. And I didn't get bullied or picked on either, but I didn't want to be the person making somebody else feel bad about themselves. And from living that lifestyle, I got to see both sides of it. I got to see those who were the bullies, and I got to see those who were bullied. And I'm on the outside looking in. And although quiet and shy and introverted, I was a star athlete. So I still got to be in and with and around the cool guys, but I still could feel the heart of the uncool guys. And I would be friends with both. And it benefited me and it blessed me. And the cool guys got to see later the benefit of me being humble enough to be friends with the uncool guys. And then the cool guys started to emulate me and come and prey on the uncool guys to get benefits from them when before they would have never talked to them because they was one of those guys who, if you cool, you don't deal with the guys who quote unquote uncool. And so my son, a lot of his friends would be seen as uncool, but it's because of the lessons he had on humility to treat everybody kind, to protect the weak, to protect those who were being bullied, to stand your ground, to speak up, don't start nothing, but always be willing and ready to finish it if it need to get finished. And you have to have those standards, which is, this is what I expect of you. When you have what you expect of your child, meaning you've brought with clarity what is expected, you can't get tired of teaching. The next thing you have to have is you have to have consequences and you have to have rewards. So with my sons, if I say do something and they don't do it, then guess what? It's an issue. It's a problem. And so like, whatever that means, no game or you grounded or no phone. My oldest son, not long ago, probably when he was 15 or it could have been when he was 16, if you know a 16-year-old, then you're going to understand the gravity of this. He did something. He lost his phone and his game for 5 months. Think about that now. Kids these days, think about a teenager in this day and age having no phone and no game, no video game for 5 months. Now, ask yourself, would you rather that, or would you rather your child sit in a prison cell? So you want to be the soft parent, then you're gonna be the soft parent when your child in prison. Because if your child will play in your face and try you, they'll try anybody in the world. And so, because I have a very direct and blunt personality, and I hurt people's feelings with the truth, but I also blow people head up. My wife, my son, they say, man, you gas people up. I say that you got to be able to do both. Because I know the truth could be flattering or it could be battering, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And so I ain't gassing your head up. I'm just humble enough to give credit where credit is due. So whatever you good at, I'm going to tell you good at it. I ain't going to downplay it. As good as you is at it, I'm going to give you all the praise in the world. But when I got to flip to the other side and tell you the truth, I'm going to do it with the same energy, just as direct. And so I've learned from this in life, from being observant. I've seen what works and what doesn't work. I've learned from it. And so you have to be able to have those consequences, and you got to be real and direct. So the last time we was in Europe, we was in England, we had our meetings or whatever, and we was doing, me and my oldest son. It came to where we could go home a few days early. Well, when I called Delta and talked to them about switching the flight, because of my status on Delta and whatever in the flights, it didn't cost nothing. But then when my son came in here today, he was like, hey, when do we get back? And I told him the date. And the day before, his team at home, they playing like a rival. And he was like, is there any way that we possibly could make it? But then I thought, and I was like, well, this other opportunity over here came up, and it goes to this date. So that's the earliest we could have left, but I'd already extended the Airbnb to that date. So if I change the flight a few days early, now I'm losing the money from the Airbnb that I already paid for. Also, that flight, because it's a different airline, most likely I'm gonna have to pay a fee to change it. So then I looked at them, I say, well, can't have it all. You want to come over here. In order to get something, you got to give something up. So in that situation, I'm not moving mountains to accommodate, because you can't have it all. You got to understand what sacrifice means. You can't have this over here and that over there. And he didn't even care. He was like, yeah, you're right. Yep, they have to do it without me. But they're going to test the waters to see if you going to drink an ocean out of straw for them. If you'll drink an ocean out of straw for them, they'll sit there and watch you do it. Child not finna try to save you, but you have to know what you can and can't do. And you also got to realize, and this is a lesson that I'm learning that I failed at, is that you can't give them the world and then don't give them a work ethic. If you're going to give them the world, they got to have a work ethic that match it. And so that's where we fail a lot of times as parents. And my wife and I have failed. And I had to, talk to my wife about, like, don't do everything for them. Like, when my sons would come to me and say, Dad, can you open this ketchup packet? I showed them how to open the ketchup packet. Dad, can you do this right here? Can you cut this? Can you do that? I showed them what I'm doing. Whereas, a lot of times with women, because you rushing and because you don't know what it takes to be a man in the world, you might do everything for your son. And that's you doing a disservice. And so it's hard to balance, like, love and being tough. And sometimes we do one or the other. Sometimes we do way too much on the love side and not enough on the tough side. We do way too much on the tough side, not enough on the love side. But you got to find that balance. And the way you find that balance is you keep the energy the same. Do not punish harder than you praise. And don't praise harder than you punish. You got to keep the energy the same. So if I'm going to get down on my son and I'm going to rip him a new one, when he do something wrong, when he do something right, I'm jumping up and down, I'm clapping. So my youngest son today, he scored 2 goals. He's very passive. You know, he don't like to be the star or shine. He's not greedy. He's not assertive. So the coach don't know his real talent level because of the role that he played. That's my personality. I was the same exact way. And I played football in college, and I was the same way. It was guys that played in front of me that really couldn't even tie my shoes. But because I wasn't loud and jumping all around and making all the noise, the coach kind of overlooked me. And then he'll put me in the game, and I go in there and average 8 yards a carry. When the average running back averaging 4 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry, I go average 8 to 12 yards a carry. And then coach like, But then the coach like, well, you don't practice hard. I'm like, coach, it's not that I don't practice hard. I just make it look easy. Like my personality is not all hype and making all this noise and doing all that. I just do the job. And that's how my youngest son is. And so here he is, last game, he scored the only goal. He come off the bench and scored the only goal. And then the day the coach started him, he scored the first goal of the game. But yet, when you look at it, you'll think that he not on one of the best players. You'll think he lower on the totem pole, but it's really his personality. So what I do, I take and I give him an incentive. Because when he do something wrong, I'm on him. I'm on him to where he crying. So when he do something right, I'm blessing him. So I say, hey, every goal you get is $25. So he had 2 goals today. I told my wife, stop by the ATM, take out $60. He gonna get a $10 bonus for scoring 2 goals. And the reason why I'm doing it because I'm preparing him to be a professional. And in the pros, you get incentives. You get incentives based on your play. So I give my children incentives as a young person. And I don't care if they make it pro or not. It's not about that. The reason why I treat them like pros and I train them like pros mentally and emotionally is because anything you do, you should want to be at the highest level. You should shoot for the highest level of it. And if you miss it, then okay, you gave everything you could. A man has never regretted giving 100%. So the issue with parents is they let their kids do stuff for fun. If you're going to do it all the way. Don't do it and go half butt at it, because the way you go half butt, you're going to go half butt in your business. You're going to go half butt in your marriage. You're going to go half butt as a parent because you're not doing everything with the same intensity. So my sons, if you're going to do it, you're going to train and you're going to prepare like you want to be the greatest in the world. At a young age, yeah, you're having fun, but you're still going to train. You're still going to be consistent. And it's a marathon. So boom, I give them that right there. So in the same day, there go a lesson. My youngest, you did what you supposed to do, here go your incentive. My oldest, you want to come over here and do this, you can't be back home early because the dates, they don't coincide, they conflict. So you got to give up that for this. Lesson both ways right there. And so that's the thing. And this is what I have learned. And we learn through trial and error. So when you're doing something and you realize it don't work, what they say, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. When you're doing something and it don't work, then that's the issue. You need to change it. A lot of times people say, well, my child won't listen, they won't do this, they won't do that. Me and my wife never had to deal with terrible tools. The reason why is because we had consistency with consequences and rewards. So we never had to deal with behavior problems. We never had to deal with back talking because of consistency. What a lot of parents do is they let their child get away with so much. And then when they done had enough, they put their foot down, they blow their top, and they go off. And now the child see them as crazy, unhinged, inconsistent, and emotionally unintelligent. And the child lose respect. Your child wants to be disciplined. Your child just don't want to be given everything. Your child wants structure, and your child wants consequences and rewards. Your child does not care how hard you are on them as long as you love them at the equal level. And being hard on a child does not mean being hateful towards your child. Being hard on a child means you have structure, meaning make your bed, clean your room, wash the dishes, do this, do that. That's what is considered hard on a child. Can't go out to play before you've done your homework. Can't go out to play before your homework is done and your room is clean. When dinner is being made, come and watch it and learn how it's done. That would be considered like too much structure, too many rules, but that's what your child need because that's what a job got. Your job policies and procedures book is this thick. That's what a college has. That's what a high school has. That's what a sports team has. Everything has rules and regulations, policies and procedures. So your household should run the same way. And guess what? All you can do is what you do, what you can do. But what you realize is when you do all that you can do, 9 out of 10 times it's gonna be sufficient. 9 out of 10 times. So my oldest son, he talking to me about, Dad, I've never had a girlfriend. He said the guys out, on the soccer team, they asked me, he said they all come to him and they ask him like, man, you talk to a lot of bad teens, don't you? You know, these guys over here. And they was like, show me your Snapchat. He said he showed them his Snapchat and they be like, whoa, your phone is dead. Like, whoa, you ain't got nothing going on. You got no motion. I said, that's good, son. I said, that's what make you rare. That's what make you different. That's what make you unique. I said, because what these guys don't realize is they trying to be cool and they trying to fit in. Cool don't pay. Cool don't pay. When you fit in, you're going to get left out. So I say, continue being different. Continue standing out because that's what's special. The issue with a lot of fathers is a lot of fathers never grow up. They stay lame and they stay dumb and they never look back at their behavior and say, that was real stupid of me. That was real lame and dumb of me. So they'll try to tell their son, yeah, man, get your girlfriend. Yeah, man, get you some girl, man. Get you a little bit of head, man. Yeah, you got to do this, do that. Yeah, you got to touch this, touch that. No, I teach my son, save yourself until marriage. Your daddy already made that mistake. Your daddy was slept with 100 women before the age of 21. Don't ever do that, son. Don't ever do that. I did it because I was dumb. I did it because I was weak. I did it because I was insecure. I did it because I was lame trying to be cool. We all was lame. To every man who moved like that, he lame, weak, and insecure. I said, a strong man know who he is. He said, Dad, these girls ain't got no morals today. He was like, I said, no, it's virgins out there. I say, that means you just got to look harder. You got to look longer. You got to talk to more people. When you go to college, you're going to meet a lot of different women. You got to really talk to them. You got to feel their spirit. You got to, really, if you see a young lady, you like the way she look, you're going to have to go talk to her. You're going to have to get to know her. If you see she ain't got no standards, she ain't got no quality, boom, let her go. Say, yeah, I don't think it's going to work. Always be real. Always be direct. Know what you want and don't settle. And so we have these kind of talks. And I express my mistakes to the point that when I talk to my son, see, a lot of parents don't talk to their kids about their life. But when you talk to them, you give them a real picture of the real world. And then you express it. So if you was down there as a woman, you sucking thing on the first night, swallowing, when your daughter come age of 16, you need to tell her, don't ever give no man oral sex if that's not your husband. Because I done been there and done that. And it's nasty, it's degrading, and it makes you a HO. A lot of parents want to keep their past in the past and don't realize that the same way that your pathway led you to doing that, your child gonna be led the same way. So you got to tell your child what you did at the age that they can receive it, the age that you know they're gonna be tempted by it. You got to tell them what you did and why it was wrong, or what you did that worked out and was right. You got to be honest with them. Everything that I tried to do in my life are the things that my dad never talked to me about. So I went to find out for myself. Everything my dad talked to me about that he did and he told me about the outcome, I had no interest in doing because he had already did it for me. That's the way communication works. That's the way teaching works. So we are inquisitive and wondering minds. So if you don't show the roadmap and tell the outcome of this particular decision or behavior, your child is going to go do that. And you got to be ready for that. So it's not, and I understand that raising children is a marathon. So it's not that I'm an expert. It's not that I know it all. What I'm saying is, to this point, it's going great. It's going good. Now, my children, God forbid, could get to an age and bump their head. But you know what? I've never seen it done. When I look around and I see other adults who was raised the way I'm raising my children, they never sold drugs. They never went the wrong way. Like, they never got out there because of consistent structure, praise, reward, and consequences. They stayed on it. We have the ability as humans to get on the straight and narrow and stay on the straight and narrow and make that a way of life. That, yeah, you're gonna have fun and do this, but fun don't mean snorting cocaine. Fun don't mean smoking weed. Fun don't mean getting drunk. Fun mean going to the game room, skydiving, going to do go-karts, going to the theme park. Like doing what you love. Fun don't mean drugs and alcohol to the point that you drunk. So my son telling me about, like, all the kids today, they putting these little nicotine things in their mouth. If you got a teenager, you better check everything they got. Every one of their drawers, every one of their backpacks, everything. These kids out here right under your nose is vaping, putting them nicotine things. But my son talked to me about everything. He talked to me about everything because my wife and I have kept a line of communication open their whole life. And every day they come home from school, she asks them a series of questions and she make them talk. She make them answer the question. When I talk to them, I do the same thing. We having conversation. So it create a line of communication and awareness. But the thing is, you don't give them every single thing without having standards and stuff that they got to adhere to. So a lot of times you'll have an open line of communication with your child, but yet you still have no influence in your child's life because you giving them stuff they are not working for or have not earned. And then when they messing up, you not holding them accountable, or you overdoing the punishment and you not doing the praise to the same level. So you got to be able to watch your film, look back at what you did right and wrong, look back at the outcome and see what need to be changed. And so when your child is young, let's say 6, 7, 8, 9, you just teaching the golden rule basically. You're not talking about sex. You talking about treat people kindly. You talk about good touch, bad touch. Never let anybody touch your private area. Never let anybody see your private area. So my youngest son, he got a friend. His friend have a little questionable behavior to me. So before my son go over there, I said, son, listen now. Because one time I was picking my son up and I think the friend kissed him. It was either on the cheek. I don't think it was on the lip, but it was like a real close hug and almost like a kiss. And I told my son, I said, son, don't you ever in your life let a boy kiss you or kiss a boy ever in your life. Do you hear me? He said, yes, sir. I say, you could give a handshake. I say, even if you hug, don't hug no boy too long. And don't let no boy, because sometimes these boys, they'll get touched as a child by their uncle, their granddaddy, and they'll get kissed in their mouth. And they don't even know that they getting turned out at the age of 3, 4, 5 years old. So you have to teach your child about good touch and bad touch. You got to teach your child about pink and blue. The world today don't want you to teach your child that pink is for girls. And boy, my youngest son, he loved him some pink and purple. And that thing bothered me. But then I had to think about it and say, he just like bright colors. Kids like bright colors. So yeah, you get these bright colors, son, but I also want you to know pink and purple is for girls. Blue and red, that's for boys. Because them colors have meanings. When you look up what is the meaning of pink, what is the meaning of purple, what is the meaning of yellow, what is the meaning of red, Google it. There's science behind colors, and it's science of why brands choose certain colors for their logo. Google it, and you're gonna see what these associations have with the brain and how our brain responds to color. So it is important. And then you have a lot of parents who are like, oh, my son likes to wear dresses and he likes to wear heels. Woman, you don't shut up and get out my face. My son ain't never putting on no dress. You better not dare try to put my son in no dress and no Christmas in no kind of play. Ever. You hear me? Hey, listen, you gotta let people know because kids getting groomed and kids getting turned out. And it's a work of the adversary so that your lineage cannot reproduce because they getting put with their own sex. So now they cannot reproduce. Your family done. Boop. Your family done. Boop. Your family turned inside out, upside down. So if you don't believe in that, you got to stand on that. Don't let the world change you. If you okay with your son dressing like a girl, more power to you. Keep him from around my child, though. Your son not going to be around my child. Your son not hanging out with my son because that's the wrong message. That ain't in my household. That's what you want to do in your household. God bless you. God bless you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Stay from around mine, though. Point blank, period. You have to have your boundaries. You got to have your standards. You got to know what you believe in. And you can't let the waning morals and values of the world distort and disrupt and destroy what you building in you and your household. So, and I talk to my son, and everything I talk to my son about, I can't share it on here because people are twisted and they'll look at you a certain way. But I'm gonna share it anyways. I teach my sons pro-black. Pro-black don't mean hate white. It means love what you is. And I teach my son about colorism, and I help him understand how me and his mama got together, and he see my mama lighter than his mama. And so we talk about colorism, and we talk about, he's talking about white women love the color that he is, and we talk about that. We talk about who was in the field, who was in the house. We talk about these things so he understand the psychology behind it, the science behind it, and that way he can get to do it. I got to go, got to cut this short. My wife calling me. God bless you. We'll talk soon.